This is the Horse Radio Network. Well, hi, everybody. It's good to be back on the Stable Scoop Show. I see live people popping in already, so it's good to have you here. If you can, post in the comments your name and where you're from. The panelists tonight will be able to see your comments, and if you have any questions or if you want to comment on the topics, we have some fun hot topics tonight that should be interesting. And we're going to... Hi, Larissa. Where are you from, Larissa? Tell us where you're from. That would be great. And they'll be able to see where you're from as well. We're just going to give one more minute here for more live people to pop in, and then we're going to get the show started. Larissa's from West Virginia. Hey, Larissa. Good to have you here tonight. West Virginia in the house. Katie from Wisconsin. We're going all over the place tonight. I think we're all over. Well, we're mostly in Florida tonight with our panelists, actually. Let's see. We've got, hi, Glenn. I don't know who posted that, but we're gonna be talking about some hot topics tonight, and I'm just getting things set up and ready to go, and I'll be counting us in. There we go. Now we got the live people coming in. So again, live people, Laura's from Oregon. Please post your first name and where you're from. Feel free to comment tonight on the topics that we're talking about. Write them in there. We're going to pay attention to your comments all night. If you have a question about what the topics we're discussing, let us know that too. If you miss any part of this, we'll be putting out on the Stable Scoop Show tomorrow. So on the audio version on the Stable Scoop podcast feed. All right, let's get this show underway. I'm going to count us in for the audio in 3, 2, 1. This is episode 529 of the Stable Scoop Show on the Horse Radio Network. It's the Equestrian Roundtable Show in coordination with the American Horse Publications. Our sponsor this episode is Kemin Equine. I am Glenn the Geek, founder of the Horse Radio Network and host of Horses in the Morning, the longest-running daily horse podcast in the world. And I'm in my brand new studio. For those of you watching video, you'll see that it looks a little different than the last time you saw it. We want to welcome you back to the Equestrian Roundtable. We're excited about our partnership with the American Horse Publications. Matter of fact, we'll be going to the annual conference in Lexington, Kentucky next month, 4 or 5 weeks away. AHP is the Association of Equine Journalists, and Horse Radio Network has been a proud member of it for years. Each roundtable from now on will have members of the AHP, and we're excited to be broadcast on the AHP Facebook page as well. So hello to all the fellow journalists watching tonight. It's good to have you here. I will be your host and moderator, and I have opinions, as you all know, but my job mostly tonight is a traffic director, and hopefully the panelists will do most of the talking tonight. I do enough talking in the morning. If you're watching live, welcome. This is the first show that we're combining live video and audio, and also we'll be putting it out on the podcast feed over on the Stable Scoop feed and also the Auditor feed tomorrow. So if you miss any part of this, you can go back and listen to the audio. Let's meet our panelists for tonight. First, joining us again, returning to the round table, is Dr. Wendy Ying. Hi, Dr. Ying.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
Of course, she is a veterinarian. She's a traditional Chinese medicine doctor. She was my co-host on the driving radio show for like 25 years. We did that for a long time. Hi, Wendy.
Hello.
Wendy's out of Sarasota. We're going to learn more about her a little bit later on, but I was down your way. I was in Tampa today, so I was pretty close. Yeah. And people are happy to see you here. We're getting highs right here. Hi,
everybody.
A member of the American Horse Publications and also a returnee to the round table, we have Emily Esterson. Hi, Emily.
Hi there. How's everybody tonight?
Good. Now, you're in New Mexico, right?
I am indeed.
What part?
I'm in Albuquerque.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so central Rio Grande Valley, as we like to say.
What a pretty place.
It is. It's hot and dry already.
You're getting ready for summer already?
Yeah.
Now, we're going to learn more about Emily as the night goes on as well, but she is returning. This is your second time, right, here, Emily?
Yeah, second time.
Right, and we'll see you in a month? You're going to be there in Lexington?
I am going to be there. I'm on the board. So
oh, yeah, that's right. You have to be there. They require you to show up.
I have to be there. But I'm looking forward to your session.
Yes, Dr. Wendy, I'm doing a session on improv and how it helps you as a better interviewer.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
So that'll be fun. That's my acting company right there that I owned for 10 years, right there in that picture. That was all of us, about 20 of us. We did the medieval feasts. So there we go. And we have one final panelist tonight. She's also here with me in Ocala. Matter of fact, I get to see her a lot doing jumping over at World Equestrian Center, and that's Kayla Benney. Hi, Kayla.
Hi.
Kayla is also a host on Horses in the Morning. She does the sales and breeding episode, which is going to tie in perfectly to her first question or topic. That's what it's going to tie in perfectly there.
I may have some opinions.
Now, Kayla, you ride up to what level? You were an eventer, but now you seem to be a jumper.
I'm in limbo. No, actually, I just do jumping now. I'm a show jumper. And I guess I'm a baby show jumper, but I have a young horse that I've brought up the levels, and we're doing the 140s now. So I'm very
Let me
short.
tell you, she says baby. You go look at the 140s in the ring and you go, oh my God.
I know, it's big. When I walk up to them, they are above my eyesight, but I'm also very tiny. So
Now, her horse, on the other hand, how tall are you, Kayla?
I'm 5'3".
5'2.5".
Yeah.
But her horse is like 18.2.5. I mean, he's enormous.
He's giant. He is giant. He is technically 17.3.5, but he looks like 18.2.5. It's fine.
He's enormous. She looks like a little flea up there. It's so funny. He is looking over the jumps. Your horse, yeah, no problem there.
He's not trying yet, so it's quite nice to to be on a horse of that size, and you're like, this is really large, and he's like, it's a cross rail. Hold on, little woman.
I want to give one shout out. We do those in Horses in the Morning, and that's to Jennifer's stepmom, who did.
Nope, other way.
Yeah, this large Afghan above my head. That's actually an Afghan. She knitted that. It's about 6 foot tall. She knitted it. Took her 6 months to do it. She designed it all herself, laid it out from our logo, and it was absolutely beautiful. It's covering up a window so I don't get any backlight. But it's absolutely beautiful, and why not put it there, right? So I can look at it every day. It's really cool. She did a great job with it. So let's get to the questions. Each panelist is the one that brings up the topics. I don't bring up the topics, they do. And then we just have a discussion around each topic. We go for about 10, 12 minutes on each topic and then move on. Kayla, what is your first your topic for the night?
So my topic is actually how rude people have become when trying to get information about horses, or even giving information about horses, both sides, buying and selling.
So what have you experienced? Give us some examples.
Well, I gave you an example earlier when I was trying to convey what I wanted to talk about, of receiving text messages or Facebook messages at like 2 a.m. I find that extremely rude. Now, on the contrary, though, I have also done that and not realized that I did it. So playing devil's advocate on both sides, like you wake up and you're like browsing, you're like, ooh, I want to respond to that. And then you respond and you're like, oh no. Oh, but you have to realize that people selling these horses have lives outside of that, and preferably at 2 a.m. I'd rather be sleeping than getting like
you can turn that off, right?
I have, but it also bites you in the butt when you're expecting a horse to be shipped in and they're arriving at 2 a.m. and you have your settings set, and then you're not getting the phone call that the horse has arrived. Where are you?
Horses always arrive at 2 a.m. Isn't that Murphy's Law? I mean, I cannot tell you how many times I've stayed up like half the night waiting for the shipper who shows up at 2:01 a.m. Like inevitably. Like, what are they doing? Yeah.
Driving through the night is what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, I'm Dr. Curious. Wendy, I imagine you have something to say about this topic, being a veterinarian.
About people being rude about horses.
Buying and selling, yeah.
Yeah, I think that people, they just feel entitled, they just feel like that if they're buying it from you, you should be like at their beck and call. And I don't think that horse sales really go like that. It's kind of like especially I think the people that are the worst about it are people that aren't really horsey, like maybe it's their first horse, or they've always shopped with a trainer, and now they're out on their own and they just don't understand like that we're just, you're buying it from somebody else. So you're not a business. You're not a car salesman.
Right. Well, and you wouldn't go to a car sale lot and expect them to answer your text messages at 2 a.m. Hey, I was looking at this Nissan and I really had all these questions and I need you to answer them. And I'm going to get highly offended when you haven't answered them by 8 a.m. the next morning. And I just find it like, I try to be really prompt because I sell a lot of horses, and I try to be very prompt with my responses, but at the same time, I'm also running a business. I also have my own horses to compete. I have clients' horses to train. I ride for other people on top of running my own business. And I'm also, half the time, if you actually look at me out on the ring, I have my phone in my hand posting, answering people's text messages, like obviously on a good horse and not a client's horse, usually my own, and trying or using voice to text going, dressage. And you're like, no, I did not say dress, like whatever that word is that you put on under that. Like I'm autocorrecting, and no, I didn't say mayor as in the person that runs the city. I said mayor as in a female horse. Like Siri, why don't you know this? But everybody expects a prompt response, and I just
we have a listener right now who says, as a car saleswoman, people are equally as rude and do act like this for cars too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I wonder if it's just about the fact that we now have access to all this technology and we can send the text message at 2:00 in the morning. Whereas in the past, you actually had to pick up the corded telephone that was attached to your wall and make a phone call. And if you got a busy signal or left a voicemail, you just have to wait for the person to call back. So I think that the access to technology just has made that really, I teach at the University of Guelph, and I have students who are like, Dr. Esterson, why haven't you called me back? I'm like, I just read your text message 10 seconds ago. So
I think there's a difference though between Facebook messages and text messages. I will Facebook anybody private message at any time. Because I figure if they have that beep on in the middle of the night, that's their problem. I view that as fair game, but text messages I won't do.
It's more like email.
Yeah, exactly.
I think Facebook messages, you can send email anytime.
Right.
Yeah.
But also, you know what? Let's be real. If somebody's texting you at 2 a.m. because they're horse shopping, they're tire kickers. You don't even want to talk to them. They're not rational. They're just like, oh, look at this, my pretty pony, blah, blah, blah. They don't, they're not serious.
Well, and I think too, with the not serious, I'll go with I had a client that was horse shopping, and she got highly offended when the vet wouldn't talk to her. She would only talk to me because she was like, I cannot answer her 25 questions, so I will talk to you, you talk to her, and then I will relay, so I was the middleman. And I do think that there needs to be a middleman for a lot of people, only because they're going to be your advocate. They can talk the lingo and they're not wasting the vet's time because the vet has to get to their next appointment. They have, it's just me with my lessons. If I have 5 lessons planned out, I can't sit there for 30 minutes after your lesson and have a dissertation about how great it was, how super it was, you have to I'm sorry, maybe we'll text back and forth later, but I have other things that I need to do throughout the day. And I don't know, maybe I am just bitching. I excuse me, am I allowed to say that?
know.
Yeah, I think that's allowed. Somebody, one of the Facebook or one of our live viewers, I don't know the name, said, shopping on Facebook with wine. I have bought a few horses. So that's another bad thing.
Me too, actually. And I've bought them. I bought a couple from overseas off of YouTube videos. So there's that too. But, and I will say that there are some buyers that have also gotten, or not buyers, but sellers that have gotten really rude because, and I've been on I will say I've been very short with a couple people, and it's not that I'm trying to be rude, but it comes off rude because you're very blunt. if I've tried to put everything, like listed everything in an ad, I put my YouTube links, I put where the horse is located, I put the height, the age, like all the information, and you ask me one of those questions, I will say, please refer to the ad. Yeah. And it's not that I'm trying to be rude, but I am kind of being rude. Like, if you don't have the time to read my ad, I don't want to deal with you. Like, and maybe that's not the way to go about things. I don't know. But at the same time, like, I, again, live a life. And
you only have so much time in the day.
Yeah. And if I said it's an 8-year-old, it's an 8-year-old.
Well, and the other thing is, you're not just answering that one person, you're answering 20 people about that one horse. So it's,
So I want to ask about questions too. I have worked with, I have a few friends who've been by, I'm not in the sales business at all, but they ask a lot of questions of the potential seller. And sometimes I've had to say, read the ad, watch the videos, do not pepper this person with like, will the horse go in the Rio Grande? Well, I mean, the specificity of their questions isn't really applicable to selling the horse. Like, the horse goes in water. It's fine. Like they start to get they really drill down. And that's the anxiety of being a buyer. Right. A lot of times they're adult amateurs and they just, they don't have a lot of experience and they don't have a trainer shepherding them, as Wendy said, so there's that. But sometimes those questions just can be a little out of control.
There's a leg in back.
Yeah. Is that Kyle over there in the back?
Yeah, come over here more. Come over here more.
We have Darth Vader joining us tonight.
Your beard's hanging out the bottom.
That did look funny.
Sorry.
So Kayla, if you had to give 3 rules, we'll end with this. 3 rules for potential buyers. What would your 3 rules be?
If you are text messaging, do not text after 8 p.m.
Okay.
And I'm being generous with 8 because usually I'm eating dinner and I don't want to be talking to anyone about horses. I don't want to think about horses until 8 a.m. the next morning.
Read the whole ad. I assume that's number 2.
Read the whole ad. And I would like to also say, like, I am all for, answering all the questions, but lay them out. Don't almost make it, I don't know how to put it. Like, if you have a bunch of questions, just lay them all out and send it. Don't send one. Then the next one.
Make a list.
The next one. Yeah, make a list. It's not that hard because I'm going to have to sit there and answer all the questions.
Yeah.
So it'd be easier for me to sit there at 5 p.m. when I'm finished riding and go, okay, so does the horse eat alfalfa cubes? I don't know. I haven't fed it alfalfa cubes. But maybe, sure.
What horse doesn't eat alfalfa cubes?
And also, first questions are so stupid because that doesn't have anything to do with if you're going to buy that horse or not.
Right. You manage that later.
Ask questions that are going to that are concerning. And I think what aggravates you is when people ask you stupid questions that have nothing to do with if you're going to buy the horse or not.
Yeah.
Or if it has a job, like you said, Emily, like, will it go in the Rio Grande? Like, that is just dumb.
I don't know. I haven't taken it in the Rio Grande, but I have taken it in a stream. And it prefers.
But even if you hadn't, if that's what these people are buying it for, they could train it to do water.
Yeah.
I mean, that because with driving horses, right? I mean, lots of people ride driving prospects and they don't know if it's going to drive or not. So I've bought lots of horses that don't drive yet, and I try to train them to drive, and then they either do or they don't.
Yep.
And then I keep it for driving or I don't. I mean, there's a lot of risk involved when you buy horses.
Okay.
And they're not willing to take the risk.
Bottom line, here we go. This is the bottom line. Read the ad.
There we go.
All right, guys, we have to.
Wait. Let me say one thing.
Yeah.
Remember back in the day before we had cell phones, and all your horse friends would call you at like 5 a.m. because they're like, "Oh, I have to get you before you go out to the barn." Because once you're out of the barn, you're not going to have your phone. And that was totally okay. And now if my barn friends are texting me at 6 a.m, I'm like, what the hell? It's 6 a.m.
Yeah.
I actually may have texted Dr. Wendy at 6 a.m. before.
Yeah, but well, that's different because I'm awake at 6 a.m.
We have these long conversations at 5:30 in the morning.
That's the only time I message Glenn because I know he's awake. And I'm right before I go to the barn.
That's true. That's true. A lot of people agreed with me about the Facebook private messaging, though. They all agree. You know what? I'm always shocked when I message somebody at 4 a.m. because I happen to be awake, and they answer at 4 a.m. I'm like, oh, now then I feel bad.
Game on. No, then it's game on. Then you're like, all right.
All right. I'm going to remove you guys, and we're going to do a little bit of a commercial, and we will be right back after this. If I can find it. There we go. We've had no shortage of stress this past year, and a lot of our attention has been focused on maintaining our health and immunity. Stress and illness can actually form a vicious cycle in humans and also in horses. Elevated cortisol levels caused by stressors like extreme weather, disease, diet changes, travel, and trailering can all throw your horse's health and immune function out of whack. But did you know that you can help reduce the negative impacts of stress by feeding your horse chromium every day? By lowering the levels of the stress hormone cortisol and optimizing overall energy use, feeding chromium results in improved body upkeep, health, and immunity, improving performance and overall well-being. To ensure you're supporting your horse, don't feed just any chromium. Find your horse the only FDA-reviewed source of chromium on the market today. ChemTrace Chromium from Kemin Equine. That's ChemTrace Chromium from Kemin Equine. Ask for it by name and stress less. Learn more about ChemTrace Chromium at Kemin.com/ChromiumEQ. That's Kemin.com, KEMIN.com/ChromiumEQ. Well, we thank Kemin for supporting us and for supporting this show. We appreciate it. I know, Kayla, I'm going to bring the panelists back now. I know, Kayla, you said you met some of the Kemin people here recently.
I did. I met one of the guys from Kemin because I actually just got sponsored by Triple Crown, and Triple Crown consults with Kemin, and they utilize their product in the feed, actually.
Yep.
So, and so I was like trying to be all, and he was like, oh, and I have this other company, it's called Kemin, and like trying to play like maybe you don't know what it is. And I was like, I actually know exactly who you are. And you guys sponsor the Horse Radio Network, and I'm a host on the podcast, and blah, blah, blah. And he was like, whoa, this is a lot of information all at once.
It's like, I'm sorry I met her.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm sorry if that was too loud for the people. I can't tell the volume of going through StreamYard, so I apologize for the listeners if that blew your eardrums out. We hope it didn't. But it also, is our sound okay? Is anybody really loud or really quiet? Let us know in the comments. Let's go to question number 2. Dr. Wendy's bringing this one.
Okay, my question is, how do you all feel about the acceptance of Chinese medicine for your animals over the most recent years?
Do you think it's gotten better, Wendy?
Oh, I think it's gotten much better.
Yeah.
I think in horses, we have accepted acupuncture for a long time, and especially because we have the drug rules. But in racehorses, they were doing acupuncture routinely in the 70s. And body work has always been important. But I think with the small animals, I think that was really lagging. But it probably depends on where you are. I'm in Sarasota, and people are very open to that here. But I would say in the last 5 years, I've seen a really big increase. And I think people are looking for natural solutions for themselves. And so they also want that for their pets.
So, Wendy, I have a question for you. When you say Chinese medicine, I'm very familiar with acupuncture. I've used it on myself. I've had treatments on myself, and I've had treatments on my horses. And and also body work. But what else would you put in the category of Chinese medicine? Like,
with Chinese medicine, there's the Chinese medicine, herbal formulas, Tuina, which is medical massage, and food therapy. And then in people, we have a Qigong is also included in that, which is like mindfulness or meditation. So in the animals, what I try to do is to tell people to maybe spend more time grooming on their horses and not think about all the stuff they have going on. But just try to meditate while they're with their animals or like with their pets, to like sit with them and sit with them in their lap and not be like on their computer doing stuff, like pay attention to them. But also there's two different kinds of acupuncture that people are, can be exposed to. And one is more like medical acupuncture that focuses on diagnosis from a Western point of view. And then there's a Chinese medicine school that is more, we diagnose by the patterns of Chinese medicine. The theory of yin and yang and the 5 elements. Whereas there also is a way to do acupuncture. And sometimes I do this. Sometimes it's a purely musculoskeletal injury that I'm working on. And it's like, okay, they hurt here and I'm going to do these points because they're local to these points.
And is there a time when it feels more like a general undiagnosed, like it's not a specific joint?
Oh yeah.
Ain't doing right.
It's just something is not
I did
right.
a whole lecture. I did a whole lecture on ADR. In fact.
What is ADR?
Ain't doing right.
Ain't doing right.
Ain't doing right.
Duh.
Because as best we get that, and like, but it's the reason that you get people that would not normally choose acupuncture or alternative therapies. Normally they sometimes get to a place where nothing's working and then they're ready to try it because they're like desperate. Right. And so sometimes I have my vet friends refer me cases that are like, they're going to die like in a day. Right. Yeah. So like, I feel like, oh, well, it would have been really nice if you sent it a little bit earlier, but now, I can't, if I could like reverse old age in a 15-year-old Lhasa Apso, I would be like, that would be magic. Right. But like, sometimes you can't do those things. So I think that sometimes if Chinese medicine is wellness, right? And just like what people are looking at now today, especially with COVID, that really shed a light to a lot of people that instead of chasing the symptoms, you need to focus on your health so you can fight off injuries. Like Glenn, don't you feel like your Lyme has totally changed the way you look at medicine?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Kayla, how about you? Do you use it on your horses or anything?
I was going to say, like, I use it actually as a preventative. So instead of, and sometimes it's to treat certain things, but I use it a lot on my big horse because he's just so giant and he can get really body sore. And there's, again, only so many times you can go in with needles, like needles into joints. I'm not saying needles is acupuncture, but so how can we maintain the horse to also postpone having to go into their joints? And so that's when I bring in acupuncture. And I have a really great guy in Ocala that came down from Lexington. And he actually teaches at the School of Chi, which is up, I think, by Micanopy. Local to here, and he will ask me how the horse is going, and we never really talk about. I'll say, oh, he's really good, but he's never really had a full lead change. This blah 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 blah, or he's a little stuck on this side. But we never go into like a ton of detail because he'll do a read, and then he'll do regular acupuncture, and then my horse really responds to electroacupuncture, and to the point where he did the session one time and turned the machine off and went to like start taking the needles out, and the horse reached around, and he's very opinionated. He's French. And he pushed him and was like, turn it back on. and so he did like another like 15 minutes on him.
He's
like, this is free of charge. Doki, I was afraid for my life to leave. And he was just like sitting there and like totally zen. And I do think like I've used it on myself. And what's interesting is doing it on myself is I've actually learned more about my body, because there's certain points that like have reacted to the needles in different ways. Like a lot of the times you can't feel the needles going in. And then you're like, and I've fallen asleep. There's other times that like they put them in points and literally I'm like, oh my God, like that this is killing me. And they're like, oh, so you're a little reactive here. We need to like, and then you can feel it like working its way out. And then it works its way out to a certain point and then you're fine again. But I love acupuncture and I love Chinese medicine. And I know I'm rambling, but I had a client that this horse out of the norm just lost her ever loving mind. And she's an adult amateur's beginner type horse. And she just got super hot, super spooky, was about like dumping me. And I was like, okay, before like structurally, she seems fine, but I don't know why her brain wires have gone nuts. Like, let's have the acupuncture guy come out. He does chiro and everything else too. Let's get her chiroed. Let's get her looked at. And he read her and we actually put her on some herbs, the Shen Calmer. I don't know if you know, well, you would know. And she has found her Zen again. And it's interesting that you said that you doing the meditation a little bit is like, I've found with my horses, like I'll work them really hard for 10 minutes. And then I will literally just stand in the middle of the ring and just stand, like pat them, give them a lot of love. And that's what we've been doing with her is working her and then just standing, petting her and just kind of cruising. And I know you say to get off your phone, but like, that's the time, like if I'm riding her, I will like check my emails, answer the people's questions, but I do it in like, in such a calm way. And I'm like telling her she's super good. And then we go back out and work. Right. And she just seems a lot calmer instead of like work, go. And then done. And let me throw you back out in the field or put you back in the stall. She's instead found like she's starting to enjoy work again. And like,
I think they pick up on your attitude, so like, how if you have a really bad day and you rush out to the barn, you're like, I have to get on and I can ride this horse before it gets dark. And they're always bad. There's no reason to do that. Right. It always ends in disappointment for everybody.
I had a horse that did that. Like literally knew if I was in a bad mood, I could not ride the horse. Yeah. You can't. Because he would buck me off.
And they pick up on that. So if you can try to get yourself in a place where you're relaxed, then it's kind of like, when you're not listening to your significant other and then they finally get sick of it. And they're like, you never listen to what I say. And the horses pick up on that, you know?
I have a perfect example of that. So my vet came out today to do shots and teeth and stuff. And I have a mare who has a vaccine phobia. And I have to give her oral tranquilizer before the vet even comes on the property. And usually I can just walk up to her and go, whoop, and squirt it in there and we're all done. But today I had a lot of work deadlines and I was really anxious. And I was like, what time is he coming? And did he text me? And I better go. And like, I was having all this anxiety and went out to the barn and she was just like, no, you're not coming close to me with that tube. Goodbye. And we fought for 15 minutes. And finally I was just like, okay, yoga breathing. Just going to stand here, do my yoga breathing, let my heartbeat slow down. It's okay if the vet comes and I haven't got her tranked yet. It's not a big deal. Like I had to really go into that like yogic Zen moment. And then she was fine. And I just was like,
it's the same thing like going into the show ring. Like I mean, you can work yourself up and then you get into a place mentally where then you can't think and you're always playing catch up. You're reacting instead of riding with feel. You're almost riding on mode and you're like, I have to do this. I have to do that. I have to do this. Oh my God. Where if you just literally, I go through a checklist and then I tell myself right before I walk in the ring, like I made the decision. to do my game plan. Like I made the decision. Like there's nothing else that's possibly going to happen. And then I will react to things as they come, as in like, okay, I saw one too many to this one. Well, but I made the decision to ride with feel instead of ride in mode and ride the 7-stride line. It is a 7-stride line. Well, what type of 7-stride? When I jump in, then I have to ride with feel. Do I need to slow down? Do I need to move up? But the horses, I think, also react to that. Like, I only think my horse is as good as I am when I go into the ring. If I'm like in a tizzy, then they're in a tizzy. Then we're like galloping around at Mach 10. And the horses are jumping as well. They're not jumping through their bodies. They're not as relaxed.
I wonder what the thing was. What has caused the change? I think this change has happened really over the past 10 years. And I think it's because people are learning about it for themselves, right, Emily? We're learning about doing this kind of stuff for ourselves, especially when it comes to supplements and herbs and all of that.
I think so. I mean, I really do. I think it's very much that we understand the value of it for humans. And it's becoming more and more mainstream. It's not so much of a, I remember years and years ago, one of my first journalism jobs was with Natural Foods Merchandiser. And that was a magazine that wrote about natural foods and organic foods and sort of herbal supplements and all the stuff. And it was run by like a bunch of hippies and it was a little bit marginalized. And so, it's become a lot more mainstream if people are using it for themselves, I mean, my regular GP, when I had this sort of chronic neck problem that I couldn't get rid of, referred me to an acupuncturist.
Mm-hmm. And that wouldn't have happened 20 years ago.
No, it wouldn't have. And he was like, I think it could really help you. And it really did help me. So, so I think
you're not a pariah anymore, Dr. Wendy.
I know. But you know what I think too, what we've really tried to do, both in the Asian countries and in the Western countries, is try to use scientific based evidence of why acupuncture works. And the herbal formulas, they're, extracts from plants, which is where we get pharmaceuticals from. So we have more research about it, whereas in the past we didn't have as much research. So now we have evidence-based information. So that's probably why your doctor was more apt to recommend acupuncture.
All right, we got to move on. Dr. Wendy, a question from one of the viewers. How do you find a practitioner? Where's the best place to go?
If you go to the Chi Institute website, which is tcvm.com, like traditional Chinese veterinary medicine, there's a map. You can put in your zip code and it'll find a TCVM practitioner near you.
Yeah, that's easy. tcvm.com.
Yeah. And it'll tell you whether they're equine or small animal or both.
All right, I'll put that in the show notes too for anybody that's looking for that. We'll put that in the show notes. All right. We're going to go on to our third and final question, but before we do that, we're just going to learn a little bit about more about these guys. Kayla, so you are our host of the Sales and Breeding episode, which is the fourth Thursday of every month on Horses in the Morning, right?
Yes.
But where can people also find the fancy, pretty horses you have for sale and stuff like that?
So I have a website, selcouthsporthorses.com.
You better spell that because that's a weird word.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. People, my husband said I shouldn't have used it, but here we are.
I'm kind of agreeing with your husband too, by the way.
But it means wondrous, mysterious, and strangely weird, which is me. Anyways, so Selcouth is SELCOUTH sporthorses.com. I have a Facebook page. My actual Facebook page, Kayla Benney, is probably where you're going to see the most information. I'm really bad about updating my other Facebook pages, but also going back towards a more natural way of living. I actually started a website called Total EquiHealth, like total and then EQUI health.com. And it's supplements and products that, for a working athlete or rider that maybe a little leaning more towards the natural side. It might not be totally natural, but like we offer flare strips and more natural supplements on the human and horse line, and stuff like that. And it actually just launched. So this is the first time anybody is hearing about it except for my close friends.
Apparently, I'm not a close friend. I never even heard about it. So
okay, well, no, you are, but you're like,
you didn't want them to blab it.
Dig a hole there, Kayla. Go ahead and dig it.
I needed a soft launch with like very, very close knit people so we could iron out the details. And we will still be ironing out details because we are,
and that is totalequihealth.com.
Yes.
Okay.
And we have a promo code, HRN, 10% off to all auditors, or listeners, I guess, because it's going to go to everyone.
10% off. Got it. And I'll put links to all of that in the show notes as well. Thanks, Kayla. Emily, what are you working on right now?
Well, I am doing a lot of different things, but for the most part, I'm teaching. I am finally using my terminal degree. After all these many years, I am developing courses for University of Guelph, Equine Guelph in Canada, which is really fun. Basically, I'm writing and editing class curriculum, and I just finished one on equine journalism, which is, of course, right in my wheelhouse because I was a magazine journalist for decades. And now I'm doing one on equine event management, which is really fun. And we're developing that. That course will launch in the fall. And I'm also on the board of AHP, American Horse Publications. And
AmericanHorsePublications.com if you want to check that out.
AmericanHorsePublications.com. If you're a student or an aspiring journalist or a media person who's interested in learning about the horse space and how to work in the horse space, AHP is a great organization. I've been a member forever. It's actually how I know Glenn. Or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it was from a trade show. I can't remember.
We've known each other so long, I don't remember.
I don't either. So anyway, so that's what I'm up to. And I'm also still doing some magazine writing and working on a few publications. So, yeah. Great. So that's what I'm up to. My website.
Yeah, website.
e-squared editorial.com. Actually,
I love that.
I love that. E-squared edit.com.
I just put 2 and 2 together there.
Yeah, I love that. E-squared. And my business card, which is such an obsolete, crazy thing nowadays, because who uses a business card?
I know.
But they're actually square, not rectangular.
Of course.
Oh, fancy.
Look at you.
Hello, branding.
You are in media.
Yes.
All right. We'll put that link in the show notes as well. And Dr. Wendy, where do people find you? And they can actually hire you to work on their animals down in the Sarasota area.
My website is drwendyying.com. And we have lots of information about TCVM. And I have a blog that has a lot of the old shows on there. And also we sell herbal formulas. So you can look them over and I talked a lot about them on the shows in the past. So there's a lot of recorded information on there.
DrivingRadioshow.com.
Yeah, from DrivingRadioshow.com. But it in the descriptions of a lot of the herbs, it tells you like some more information. So each herbal page is kind of like a little blog.
Very good. All right. There's where you can find all of them. And now we're going to go to Emily, who has the final topic for the night.
Yes. So this topic is, why is it that we can't seem to get a sort of national riding instructor certification? Everybody's laughing. Certification program in place. And the reason I thought about
in the United States, you mean?
In the United States.
There are some countries that actually have that.
They are. Yeah. And I was mentioning earlier when we were chatting before the show that this question was sort of inspired by some conversations that I overheard when I was at a little dressage schooling show this past weekend. And I heard this appalling story about how this woman was taking a lesson and her trainer turned a horse out in the arena while she was giving the lesson. And I was like, wait, now what? And, I was standing over by my trailer and I had a student. I teach a few riding lessons, not many, but just when people ask me to. And so I was like, I kind of had to eavesdrop because I'm a journalist. I'm like, what did she just say? And so then later I asked her some questions about, I was like, so are you still taking lessons there? She's like, yeah, she's always on her phone. And I was like, yeah, oh God, okay, whatever. I think you could do better. And then I heard another story about another trainer who has a lot of students and something that she was, teaching that I fundamentally didn't agree with and thought, okay, that's like, where is the standardization? And I am really lucky because I had great experiences as a young rider. I was raised in the horse world by a Dutch couple who were, FEI level riders and who were really experienced and really knew a lot. And I was a working student there throughout college. And then after college, I went to work for a couple of women who were working their way up the FEI ranks in dressage and eventing. And I had a really great early education, which makes me, I think, a good teacher, a safe teacher. And I also spent a year in France working as a working student. And so locally, I find that, maybe it doesn't happen so much on the national, people who are working on the national stage, but locally, I find some riding instruction just horrific and unsafe and not good for the horses and not good for the people. And I crave a sort of national certification. And I wonder why in this country we can't get that done. And I know there's a lot of reasons for it, but in my pie in the sky world, I want to know if we could get that done. So
now, I'm going to throw in here, there is an organization that does certified instructors. It's just not required. The CHA, which does one episode a month on horses in the morning, for the last 8 years. So they do certifications, but they're not required. So again, we have that problem, right?
Right.
Well, and there's the ICP for eventing,
right? Right.
And everything like that. But I think, one, there's some, and maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but the ICP, there were, like Wendy said earlier, who's going to be the overall examiners? Because with the ICP, they basically grandfathered in a couple people, but was it really fair? Are they actually good instructors?
Right. Just because you can ride doesn't mean you can teach.
Right. And I've seen that a lot, is like a lot of FEI upper level people, they can't actually instruct because it's all on field. They don't know how to convey what they're feeling, but they can do it on a horse.
Right.
But does that make them good examiners? Not really.
And then what if you have somebody that comes up for the exam that's a really top level rider, but really stinks at teaching? Then, are you going to have the nerve to fail them?
Yeah. Are you going to fail Board Martin?
Yeah.
Are you saying he's a bad teacher?
No, actually, he's a really good
He's
instructor.
a really good teacher. I've seen him teach.
He's a really good instructor. But I'm saying like that, like everybody knows his name.
Right.
Yeah.
And we see that in dressage, in dressage judging in all horse judging, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When someone rides down the center line, that score is very dependent on who they are.
Yeah.
And it's also very dependent on if the judge is confident enough in their own judging to give a fair score.
I will say, Boyd has ridden a horse that I know that could be very temperamental in the dressage, and he received a score that reflected the actual test at hand, and may have received like a 2 as a result. And so I was like, kudos to the judge that didn't just give him an automatic.
I think judging has gotten a lot better, at least in the dressage. I think it's a lot. The judging training program seems to be pretty rigorous and pretty, I think years and years ago it maybe wasn't, but I think now it's gotten pretty rigorous. And I had a test a few years last year on my horse, and she gave me an 8. I did not deserve an 8. That horse did not lengthen. Like, is she blind? I mean, it's a very subjective thing, but
she blinked a couple times.
Yeah, the horse went,
and she is a little quickie Connemara, so she could have just zipped across the ring, and she didn't. But she missed it.
So how do
8?
How do the Germans do it so successfully? Or are they doing it successfely?
Well, they're small.
They're probably used to regulation.
They are.
Well, that's part of it. Yeah.
They love rules.
Yeah.
They do. Yeah. And I think the countries are smaller, like France. When I started that program, it's a much smaller country. It has fewer people. It's much more culturally.
It's the size of a state. Yeah,
it's the size of Texas. Yeah. And it's much more culturally homogeneous in terms of riding, right? So it's not like,
well, it's the same as the British exam as well. And like you have to get an exam, you have to qualify to be a groom over there as well.
Really?
You can technically go in and there's loopholes, but if you really want to go in and you say, I have this certification, you automatically are accepted to FEI barns and things like that, then your pay is better, your lifestyle is better. There's a lot of certification, and there's 5 steps to becoming a groom. So, and I think it's the same as the instructors there. So why are we not doing that here?
Well, I think part of it too, especially with horses here, you get a horse, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know anything about what you're doing. And you just go to somebody who said, go to this person down the road, and you don't know any better. You don't know that there's a certified horsemanship association. You don't know what to look for. You don't even know to ask if there is a
but
certification.
But they can Google everything else. How come they can Google everything else except for that?
But they don't even know. And I think there's also no, like with the exception of CHA, there's no clearinghouse. And like USEA has the ICP lists, that they post. But if you're a beginner rider, you don't know what USEA is. You don't know what CHA is. You don't know any of those things. So
we are so diverse.
Neighbor guy who's like, I'll teach you how to ride.
Yeah. And,
here's some 5-inch rail spurs. Jump on that guy.
And I was referred by Sally, and I like Sally, so she must know what she's talking about, right? And and I don't know how you write. First of all, let's be honest. We're in a country where if we did regulate it, people would still teach anyway, and who's gonna stop them, right? So
there's so many examples of that, and it's a pipe dream of mine that there's better instruction especially for kind of adult amateurs coming into the sport after women of a certain age. I think that's a real gap, and I think there's a lot of kids are resilient, and there's a lot of they bounce and there's a lot of good instructors for kids who know how to interact with kids. But I think for older adults, I think it's hard for them because they're being, a lot of times they're being taught by people who are 25 years younger than them.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's you don't move as well when you're 50 as you did when you were 35. So, I mean, I don't know. That's a lot of things.
That's the
one idea, but
that's the largest growing segment of the horse world is that 40-year-old woman who's coming in after the kids are out.
Middle-aged women. Yeah, that's it.
And was our listeners, the majority of our listeners for a very long time. So somebody's talking here about driving. Wendy and I know a little bit about that. They said don't even look at the commercial driving world. That is one that should be regulated.
Oh, yeah.
Because they are hauling people. They should have as much regulation as taxis and buses and everything else because they are responsible for hauling people. A bus driver has to be licensed, right?
Right. In the Carriage Association of America, they have a great program that's based on the British certification. But like people say that they say, well, why should I pay money to get certified when I don't have to? What's the point?
Right.
And we say, it's like for your own benefit so that you can, there's no value to the certification for a lot of people. And I always explain it as like adult pony club. So we all have holes in our basics, with anything, with driving, riding, cooking, whatever. Yeah. So if you go through a little program, then you can see where you have some holes and you can do something about it.
But I love the idea of adult pony club, and I've been trying to get that started.
Well,
locally.
Pony Club has a program now.
Yeah. I've been trying to get our local club to do adult pony club here.
Again, I don't know how
these adults. So
I don't know how many. I don't know. I don't think it's taken off like they hoped it would years ago.
No, because maybe it's because I'm younger, but and I've seen, because I've been in Pony Club, and I've also wanted my adult amateur ladies to also have a pony club. But are you going to do the same certifications as a 12-year-old and go to the same ratings and stuff like that? Even just not even taking Pony Club. I had a woman that went and did a cross-rail class the other day, and she's like, I won against a 5-year-old. Yeah. I think I made him cry. And I was like, you 1000% made him cry. But you're going to take that blue ribbon and you're going to be really proud about it.
Well, they can split it up by age.
I have a friend here. He's a middle-aged man, and he was into hunter jumpers, and he had that experience. He said, I went to the local show and I won against a bunch of 12-year-old girls.
You got to start somewhere. I mean,
he was psyched.
All right. We're never going to solve this one tonight. I can tell you that, but it is a good thing to talk. We've talked about it for years. I don't know that it's going to change much. Not in this country. I don't see it happening.
Well, and I just saw a comment actually that said the insurance companies can actually demand certification, but they don't. And I do think I talk a lot with my insurance agent about
Okay, wait a minute. I'm going to stop you there, being an old insurance guy. First of all, 90% of these barns in America are not insured. So that's not going to work.
That is okay. That's fair. I'm afraid of someone suing me, so I have my insurance. Just
where Emily lives, they ain't insured.
Yeah. No way. I am, but
that's true. And they say hit the trainers, carriage companies with higher insurance rates again. They have to have insurance in the first place for that to work. Right. I hate to be a pessimist, but I'm just saying like it is. It's
Yeah.
Well, thank you for the great conversation tonight. Thank you all for joining me. I really do appreciate it. We hope that everybody at home had fun listening along. If you missed any part of this and you're still here live, you can listen to the rest of it. We're putting the audio out on the Stable Scoop podcast feed tomorrow. Stable Scoop was actually the first show that we had on the Horse Radio Network. We started in 2008. And I host Horses in the Morning. Join us every morning, 5 days a week. We're with you. Just look at the Horses in the Morning feed. We're coming up on episode 3000.
Oh my God. I can't believe that.
Yeah, we're going to be going out. It's going to be in August, and Jennifer and I are going to go out to Jamie's, my co-host, and we're going to hopefully do the episode 3000 with her out there. Matter of fact, we have one of the TV networks for the horse world that wants to film it. So hopefully we'll do that. It's a pretty big deal. As far as we can tell, there's only been 2 or 3 other podcasts in the world that have hit up episode 3000. So we're in a pretty rare company, and we think that they were corporate ones like ABC and NPR. So we're pretty proud of the fact that we've stuck with it for 12 years and 3,000 episodes. It's kind of crazy to think about.
You're the voice on our long road trips to eventing.
Well, God bless you. I hope you stay awake.
We listened to 4 episodes in a row last time we came home from Tucson.
Well, we like to keep people company, and we hope we're silly enough to keep you awake. So there's that. Kayla can be heard. She's with us the 4th Thursday of every month talking about sales and breeding. If you want to catch the past episodes of the Driving Radio Show, that's still out there at drivingradioshow.com. We had 8 years worth, so there's a lot of them. And all 3,000 episodes are at horsesinthemorning.com. So, Chad, Jennifer said you're going to make Chad eat crow. Jamie, my co-host's husband, when we first started 12 years ago, the first thing he said is, what are you going to talk about after a couple of weeks of doing a daily podcast? So here we are. We think we've interviewed.
Don't ever ask a horse person that. What are they going to talk about? Because we can tell the same stories over and over again about our favorite horses, and they never get boring to us.
My husband says the same thing. He's like, I hate going to dinners with you guys. All you talk about is horses. And I'm like, well, that's all we know.
We think we've interviewed just about 6,000 guests. So,
Wow.
I mean, when you think about that, it's kind of crazy. We've given away over $70,000 worth of prizes on that show. So we're probably up there as far as one of the podcasts that's given away the most prizes too over the years. So
Wow.
we're pretty proud of what we've done here at the Horse Radio Network. If you haven't listened to any of the shows, go to horseradionetwork.com. We have 21 shows now. So head on over there and take your pick, whatever you want. We got something to cover almost everything. And Emily, I can't, you mentioned dressage a lot tonight. Super. You mentioned dressage a lot tonight. We have the longest running dressage show too with Reese and Phillip. The Dressage Radio Show is the official show of the United States Dressage Federation. So head on over. That's a highly educational show. If you're really into dressage and want to learn about dressage, that's the show for you guys. If you just want silly and want to goof off, then Horses in the Morning, because you're probably not going to learn anything. So thank you, everybody. We really appreciate you being with us. Thank you all. Take care, everybody. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye. Adios.
We're out. Did I accidentally boot you off, Emily, or did you just drop?
I don't know. I think I dropped. I'm not really sure. My internet's been a little unstable lately, so I could have just dropped.
You came right back, though. I was surprised how quickly you came back.
Oh, really? I felt like I was gone forever.
No, we didn't even know. I didn't even have time to acknowledge you were gone. So.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I just brought you back in.
You literally just swapped with Wendy. It went boop, and then you went boop.
Oh, really?
Like,
Wendy moved over.
It was like she was like, "Move over, Wendy. I'm coming in."
Get out of my way. Yeah,
you three were great together. You're a good group together.
That was
actually.
fun.
Yeah,
that was fun.
It was really fun.
I miss the shows. I miss doing the show.
Yeah, I'm finally healthy enough. 2 days ago, I said to Jennifer, "Wow, I woke up this morning and my arm doesn't hurt as much," and that was the first time in a month. So the pain was just pretty bad. And the drugs I was taking wasn't conducive to doing live video. So it was not good.
Hey.
It's been almost 3 months now. And the doctor bills, oh my God, our deductible must be higher this year because we are paying out a lot more money out of pocket than we did last year. So that's fun. But hopefully the clot maybe is breaking up. I don't know. It's just not as painful as it was. So
that's good.
So that's good. And it's not swelled up anymore like a balloon.
That's terrible.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that's good. Hopefully hopefully cancer's done. Knock on wood. That blood clots are done. I can get back to normal.
Aging, it sucks. I just have to point that out.
Yes.
Enjoy it while you can.
Now, on the other hand, I had lunch today with one of my podcasting buddies, Lee, who I think Wendy might have met Lee, who has been 10 years fighting cancer. He was
You've talked about him on the show before.
Yeah.
He's been on the show before, and he's still fighting and still there after 10 years. So
that's super.
He's still doing chemo, and it hasn't been easy, but he's still alive, and he was supposed to die 7 years ago. And yet I had another podcasting friend who was the first guy to buy a ticket for PodFest every year. And he got his cancer diagnosis the same time I did 2 years ago. And he had leukemia and it's really battled the chemo and all kinds of different stuff for leukemia. And then gets COVID, gets pneumonia and dies 4 weeks later. After a 2-year battle with cancer, he dies of pneumonia. It's just... Sometimes life's not fair. It's like,
it really isn't. It really isn't.
I felt so bad just because he had fought so hard, and then have that happen. It's just weird. So anyway, I'm gonna go.
Thanks, Glenn.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
I'll see you in Lexington. I'm gonna be in your improv class.
You better, because you'll be the only one. It's a whole bunch of introverts. I'm trying to do an improv class with a whole bunch of writers who are introverts.
Yeah.
We'll see. You're going to be the only one there, Emily. It'll be you and Lisa Wysocki.
That's going to be amazing.
Jennifer Paulson, probably.
She's into it. maybe.
So,
we got to get a
maybe.
few people. Now, I do have actually coming. She lives in Lexington now. She's in that chart right there in the white. She's one of my old performers that worked with us 30 years ago. She's coming over to help.
Oh, good.
Because I needed somebody that I could really rely on that I knew really well.
Yeah.
And so she's actually coming over to help. The first time we worked together in 30 years.
Good.
And we did
Oh, you'll
probably
have so much
hundreds of
fun.
shows together. So
Yeah, that idea, Glenn had that idea the last time I was on Stable Scoop because we were talking about it, and I was like, that workshop that Larry Joe Starkey did about like the creativity thing where we all drew on the butcher paper with the crayons, like it was the best thing. And I was like, we need to do more of that at this conference. Like, I don't want to listen to Ryan Dorn talk about sales. Like,
yeah.
no offense to Ryan.
Well, I
but-
mean, some of them are pretty dry. They're
They
pretty
are.
dry.
Well, and I'm getting up there now, and this is my 19 millionth conference. So I'm like, yeah, I don't really need. I'm not really working in the magazine business anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do improv.
Well,
with
what's
Glenn.
interesting is we did this almost the same class I'm going to do here at PodFest last year with the podcasters. And we must have had, it was standing room only. The room was packed. And we must have had 300-400 in the room. And it was just packed. And it was one of the most popular sessions of the whole thing. So we're doing it again this year. We're actually doing a couple of them again coming up. And that's a week after AHP. I'm going to be doing that. So,
cool.
So that'll be a lot of fun. I loved teaching that class because it's so much, it's funny and entertaining and, you know.
Yeah.
That was my favorite class. Like when we did drama and we did all the improv, like the improv part of it was my favorite part, not like the scripted stuff and all of that stuff, but like the improv and
because you're like me, you can't memorize lines.
No, I cannot.
Which is why we do improv. It wasn't because we chose it; it chose us.
Well, as you get older, that's even more true.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even remember my own name half the time.
Someone asked me my age the other day, and I was like, I don't
you
know.
wait till you get this. I'm going to be 60 in 2 weeks.
Oh, I'm right.
60.
I don't believe it.
I'm right
60.
behind you. Yeah.
It's hard to believe.
Yeah, I know, right?
I mean,
and you feel like you're 25.
well,
It's-
last couple of years I felt 60, but I'm hoping that changes back to 25.
I look at myself in the mirror. I'm like, who the hell is that? Like, who is that person?
Yeah, I'm with you there. But yeah, 60. Oh. All right, guys. Now I really am going. We'll see you.
Okay.
Bye.
Adios.
Bye.
Bye.